Have you ever looked at a stone and wondered what secrets it might be hiding inside? Well, let me tell you about a girl named Mary Anning, who found the most incredible secrets hidden in stones along the seashore. Mary was born a very, very long time ago, in 1799, in the little English seaside town of Lyme Regis. The cliffs there were like a giant storybook filled with creatures from millions of years ago. Mary's story is one of curiosity, bravery, and amazing discoveries. She wasn't a scientist in a fancy lab. She was a girl with sharp eyes and a trusty hammer. When she was just a tiny baby, a huge, dark storm rolled in from the sea. Crack! A bright fork of lightning struck the tree they stood under. People were hurt, but baby Mary was perfectly okay. The town whispered she was a lightning girl, given a spark of curiosity and energy that stayed with her. She grew up lively and very, very clever. Lyme Regis was her giant playground. The beaches were wild and rugged, grey pebbles and crumbly cliffs towering over the sea. Storms crashed the cliffs, washing away rock and revealing strange treasures. Mary loved these storms. While others hid inside, she knew the beach would be scattered with new finds. She was ready to explore. How did Mary become such a brilliant fossil hunter? It all started with her dad, Richard. He was a carpenter with a special hobby, searching the beach for curiosities to sell. These weren't just pretty shells, colourful pebbles. They were special stones, spiral shapes or like backbones of mysterious animals. Richard called them snake stones, devil's toenails. We now know they were fossils. He cleaned them and sold them to wealthy tourists. Richard saw Mary's curious spark and taught her everything. He gave her a small hammer, a chisel, and showed her how to use them carefully. "You must be patient, Mary," he would say. Together they walked the slippery, rocky shore, eyes glued to the ground. He taught her to spot the faint outline of a fossil in a block of stone and to tap gently around it to free it without breaking it. Waves crashing and the tap-tap-tap of hammers. These were her first lessons. Life for Mary and her family was not easy. They were very poor. Sometimes they didn't have enough money for food or warm clothes. Their small house was often cold and damp. After Mary's father had a bad fall and became very ill, it was even harder for him to work. The family worried a lot about how they would pay for things. But Mary and her older brother Joseph knew they could help. They had the skills their father had taught them. They knew how to find the amazing fossils that tourists loved to buy. So they decided to take charge and help their family. Every day they could, Mary and Joseph would head down to the cliffs. They would set up a little wooden table near the street where the coaches passed, piled high with their latest finds. Spiral-shaped ammonites, pointy belemnites. These were the amazing remains of sea creatures that lived when dinosaurs roamed the earth. Wealthy visitors would stop and marvel at the strange objects on the children's table. Fine hats, fancy coats. They would pay a few pennies or shillings for them. Every coin they earned was a huge help. It meant they could buy a loaf of bread or some coal for the fire. Mary became very good at talking to the customers. She wasn't just selling stones, she was selling stories. She would explain what the fossils were and how she had carefully chipped them out of the rock. People were impressed by this young girl who knew so much. The little table became more than just a shop. It was Mary's first museum, where she could show the world the wonders she had found. As Mary spent more and more time on the beach, she started to get noticed. One day, she met a kind lady named Elizabeth Philpott. Elizabeth and her sisters arrived from London to Lyme Regis. They were very interested in fossils, just like Mary. Elizabeth was not a child. She was a grown-up who loved books and knew a lot about science. She kept an amazing, neatly labelled fossil collection at home. She was amazed at the incredible things young Mary was finding. She had never seen such perfect or unusual fossils before. Elizabeth and Mary quickly became the best of friends, despite the age gap. The well-dressed lady, the poor girl in patched-up clothes, both scrambling over the rocks together. Elizabeth didn't care about Mary's poverty or lack of schooling. She saw Mary had a special talent. Elizabeth borrowed books about geology and books about anatomy for Mary to read, a huge treat. Mary soaked up the information, learning proper scientific names. Together they learned so much. Mary had the practical skills. She knew where to look and how to remove fossils without damage. Elizabeth had the book knowledge. She helped identify fossils and suggested what kind of animals they came from. They spent hours talking over their finds. It was a perfect partnership built on a love for the past. This friendship changed Mary's life. One day, not long after her father had died, Mary's brother Joseph was out on the cliffs. Joseph found something truly extraordinary. It wasn't a small ammonite, it wasn't a small belemnite, it was a huge stony skull, nearly as long as he was tall. It had a long snout like a dolphin, a massive eye socket bigger than a dinner plate. It was terrifying and amazing all at once. Joseph knew it was too big for him to dig out alone. He ran to get Mary. When 12-year-old Mary saw it, her heart raced with excitement. This was bigger than anything they'd found before. What kind of monster did this skull belong to? For months, Mary worked on the cliffs in rain and wind. She was determined to uncover the rest of the body. She chipped away at heavy rock, bit by tiny bit, with hammer and chisel. The cliffs were dangerous and crumbly. She was careful not to damage the delicate bones. People in the town thought she was crazy, spending all that time digging in the cold and the rain. But Mary was patient and determined. She knew she was onto something amazing. She could feel it. Finally, after months of slow, careful work, she had uncovered the entire skeleton. It was enormous. It was over 5 meters long. That's longer than a car. It looked like a giant lizard mixed with a fish. A long body, 4 flippers like a turtle, a long, powerful tail. No one had ever seen anything like it. It was a complete skeleton of a creature extinct for millions of years. Mary had discovered the very first Ichthyosaurus, fish lizard. The skull Joseph found was attached to the body. Mary had brought it back to life from its stony tomb. The discovery changed everything for the Anning family. A wealthy local collector bought it from her for a lot of money. It paid their rent and bought food for a whole year. The skeleton was sent to a museum in London. Scientists from all over the world came to see it. They were astonished. Mary's discovery proved giant. Strange reptiles had lived in the sea millions of years ago. And it was all thanks to the patience and hard work of a 12-year-old girl. The Ichthyosaurus was just the beginning for Mary. Her amazing discoveries kept coming. She found the first complete skeleton of a plesiosaurus, a creature with an incredibly long neck like a snake and a body like a turtle. She also discovered the Dimorphodon, a flying reptile, a pterosaur, the first of its kind ever found outside of Germany. Even though Mary was making these world-changing discoveries, she didn't get the credit she deserved. In those days, science was a world for rich men, because Mary was a woman, and because she was poor. They would become famous for the creatures that she had risked her life to dig out of the dangerous cliffs. When she died, the Geological Society of London, which didn't even allow women to be members, wrote a tribute to her, admitting how much she had taught them all. Today, we remember Mary Anning as one of the most important fossil hunters who ever lived, perhaps the greatest of them all. Her discoveries are in museums all around the world, and now her name is always written beside them. She has her own statue in Lyme Regis, looking out proudly over the same cliffs she explored as a girl. Mary's story teaches us that it doesn't matter who you are or where you come from. If you're curious, patient, and brave, you can make amazing discoveries. So next time you're on a beach or in a park, keep your eyes open. What secrets might be hiding, just waiting for you to find them? You could be a discoverer, just like Mary Anning.